Hello, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of Take the Black Live. We are here with some very special guests, the authors of Lame of Thrones, a Harvard Lampoon parody of the how the Game of Thrones saga should have ended. And we are here with the authors, Jack Stovitz, Mike Miller, and Juan Arenas. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
We're doing good. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty funny book. Once I got the copy, I kind of devoured it pretty quickly, and it goes down really easy. And definitely, I think something that a lot of people, with the way Game of Thrones ended, might be a little more digestible, so to speak. So, but for those that aren't super familiar with Harvard Lampoon, give everybody kind of a little background. I know it's the longest running comedy publication in the United States. So there's a lot of history there. So give us a little bit of background for everybody.
So the Lampoon has been around since the late 1800s. And basically for most of its early years, it was just focused on Harvard-centric humor. It was pretty obscure. And then in the 60s, these two guys, Doug Kenny and Henry Beard, wrote this parody book called Board of the Rings. And it sold really, really well. It sold like over 1 million copies and became this huge hit. And it had all these, goofy character names like I think Bilbo Baggins was Dildo Bugger, stuff like that. And just like making fun of Tolkien. And it sold really well. And those two guys went on to found the National Lampoon and wrote movies like Animal House and Caddyshack. And ever since then, because of how well that book did, book parodies have been a really big part of the Lampoon and part of its continuing success since then. And so occasionally the undergrads on the Lampoon will try and write a book parody. And when we saw that, we always thought Game of Thrones would be perfect for that and right in the vein of Lord of the Rings. And so when me, Mike, and Juan were seniors, we worked on a book pitch for Game of Thrones, and we're lucky enough to get to actually make it happen.
Yeah, and that brings up my next question. What exactly about Game of Thrones kind of attracted you guys to the parody property? I know a lot of the previous books, like you said, Board of the Rings, and then there was The Hunger Pains and a couple other kind of sci-fi fantasy. But what made you guys choose Game of Thrones as y'all's subject?
Well, we thought it was a great opportunity to end the series. You know, we would joke to each other all the time. It's going to be another 15, 25 years before George R.R. Martin writes the next book.
Right.
And then we would say 30, 35, 40, 45. And so we wrote sort of book 6 and 7 into this final volume.
Right.
Beyond that, though, we were just huge fans of the books and the show.
Yeah, and I was also going to ask that where do you guys fall on the, as far as how were y'all book fans before the show came out? Were y'all just we call them Shonleys, people who've only watched the show? Where do you guys fall as far as that goes?
I think I was a Shonley. I've only watched the show, and still, even though this has like reignited like how much I like the show and made me want to read the books even more. I think I'm going to wait for them all to come out so that I don't have to get really into it and then like stop before I have a conclusion. The other guys have different levels of quantity. Yeah, Mike.
I definitely was introduced to it first through the show, then started reading some of the books. And I think out of the three of us, I was the only one who had seen the entire show before we started writing the parody.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so when we were on the phone with Hachette, our publisher, when we were trying to sell the book, Mike was the only one who had seen the finale because it had just aired and we were in the middle of finals, and it was like a really busy time for us. And we didn't want Mike to ruin the ending for us, for me and Juan, but we also had to know what we were talking about on the phone with Hachette. And all we knew was that not everyone, but we knew that it was very controversial and that a lot of people hated the finale. And so we're on the phone they had read our pitch. We were trying to really seal the deal. And they said, so what'd you boys think of that finale? And we would just say like, oh, well, let's not make the same mistake they did in our version, huh? And they just were totally satisfied with that and did not follow up or like ask us like, oh yeah, well, who's king?
Yeah. Nothing specific.
Yeah. And then regarding like the show and such, I had been a fan of only the books for a long time. Because I think I hadn't tried watching the show until I read the books before college and I liked them a lot. But then when I got to college, just because of how popular it was, I remember I tried watching the pilot 3 times and I didn't like it any time. And I was just like, wow, this pacing is just so crazy. Like if I hadn't read it, I had no idea what's going on. Just like colors flying at the screen right now. But eventually, I tried some more and like stuck through for most of it, but I still primarily am a fan of the books.
Yeah, there's definitely a high learning curve early in the seasons. It helps if you have someone to kind of guide you through it, so to speak. So, and then you guys kind of touched on it, but how did you guys, as far as breaking up when you're actually sitting down to write the book, how did that work between the 3 of you? Because obviously it covers basically what would theoretically be the final 2 books in Martin's saga or the final 2 seasons of the show. So that's a lot of ground to cover. So how did you guys kind of divide it up, edit it? How did that whole process work?
So as soon as we got the book deal, even though we knew we were only going to be covering the last 2 or 3 seasons, we wanted to first just refresh everything in our minds. So we binge watched like the whole show in like 2 or 3 weeks, which was pretty disgusting, to be honest.
Really tiring.
80 hours of TV in like 3 weeks. We would just like wake up, turn on the show, and then turn it off when it was time to go to bed, which was fun.
And not watching.
Yeah. Fun in some ways, gross in other ways. And then we just typed up which actual plot points we wanted to parody first. So without even adding any jokes, we just would say, okay, so first we want to start with John is dead, and Davos is locked in a room with him after he's been killed by the brothers.
Yeah, because it's definitely different when you're watching a show just for fun, as opposed to, I mean, like with us when we cover it on the site, it's like when the show was airing, as soon as it ended, each episode was, that was go time for us. That was hit the pedal to the metal, because we had so many different things we had to cover about each episode. So it's different. And then the next day everybody at the site would kind of sit back and, okay, let's really watch it and, let it sink in and, but so it is different when you're doing it for sort of work or a project or something like that. So.
Yeah.
To that point, one thing that I found was that when watching the show, I think all of us would have like tons of ideas every minute, like, oh, that could be parodied so easily, like, oh, this would be hilarious, like everyone can see the joke here. But then realizing that when you write the book, they're not going to have the show in front of them with the minute markers of what you're referring to. So a lot of effort was put into translating like the visual jokes that we could see on the screen into a book.
Right. Yeah. And I definitely liked, I'm reading the book, that it was very clear that you guys knew the subject matter, and that, it wasn't something that you guys had watched the show once and kind of, oh, let's throw this together and whatnot. Y'all knew each of the characters and knew kind of at least their show counterparts compared to y'all's book, the book counterparts. But were there any characters that you guys kind of maybe found a little easier to write the jokes for? Someone that were just so natural, that kind of easier to make fun of, so to speak, something like that?
Nope, everything was really hard for us. We can go one at a time. I thought writing for Tyrion was really easy because
I was going to say that as well.
Yeah. Just like his snarky, like his real snarky style is very easy to parody. But I'll let you guys.
It's also just like fun. It's just like a treat to write in his voice. Even in the books, like whenever I got to a Tyrion chapter, I'd be like, sweet, like this is going to be so much fun to read. He's just like such a fun character, but still has like interesting stuff going on. So I would say, like fun to write for and easy to write for. So it just like flowed very easily, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say also Sam was very easy to write for. He wasn't in the book very much, but he was an extremely fun character because in a book where we had to play up everyone's violent tendencies and make them like the most violent, exaggerated violent version of themselves, he was the one like book nerd who was trying to...
he has no violence.
Yeah, exactly. So he was in like really stark contrast to all these other like cartoonized versions of the real characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just reading through, you know, like you said, Sam is Ham in y'all's book. John is John Doe. Danny is Dennis. Some of the characters to me, just, you know, as I'm reading them, especially like Daenerys, she seems like she would be very hard to write jokes for because for the majority of her, you know, her character is very stiff and formal for the most part. She has emotion, but it's not very lighthearted. So it's kind of hard to capture. But like you guys said, Tyrion is half of what he says is naturally kind of a joke or a snarky comment. Yeah. So it's a little easier to kind of just extend that, I guess, so to speak. So what were there any jokes in particular that each of you were kind of like one that you know, someone, hey, this is the joke I wrote in the book that you want to, what was your favorite joke that you were, you know, incredibly proud of?
You guys go first.
I think I know mine. And I think it's kind of a shame because it's like not even related to Game of Thrones really, but if you just open the cover flap of the book, I think this is my favorite joke right here.
Yeah.
That one I love a lot.
But yeah, did you catch that in your copy, what the front and side cover is?
For all the kids who dream about becoming authors.
Oh no! Like the paper, like before even like the book, like the
yes,
the cover.
Yes, yeah. Where it talks about all the that was definitely a good one. Where it talks about the different authors, and it has nothing to do about you guys. It's all about
about
an
author.
Instead of about the author, it's about an author, and it's a short bio of Stephen King.
Which is very silly.
I would say in the book, my favorite recurring joke, I think, is that even though Ned Stark isn't in the book, when he's referenced, his character name is Deddard, nickname Iron Neck Snark, and everyone says that his nickname was Old Iron Neck, and that no one could ever damage his neck, no matter how hard they tried. And then he met an ill-fated death when somehow they did chop off his head.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Mike. Got a favorite?
Let me think. It's a good question. Something I definitely should have thought about.
You came up with LeBron.
LeBron?
True. I always, we did one recurring joke where Bronn in our book is called LeBron, and he's George R.R. Martin's favorite character. So almost every time he introduces LeBron into the chapter, he'll interject as George R.R. Martin and say, "Guys, I'm sorry, I just got to tell you, this guy is fucking dope. Like, this guy's sick." And then
back to the story.
Back to the story.
If there's one character that George R. R. Martin himself is similar to, it's Bronn.
Bronn.
That was another fun thing, is that George R. R. Martin is sort of a character throughout the book, and we have a prologue from him, and there's a chapter from him in the middle of the book where he just like steps in and says how he's feeling and what's going on. And writing for him was really, really fun because he himself has become such a public figure that it's very fun to put words in his mouth.
Yeah. And I was gonna bring that up because as someone who's, you know, for our site that's we pore over everything that he writes on his blog, and he writes quite a lot. I thought you guys got his voice pretty well. I mean, obviously it was, turned up to 11, but, I thought you guys got his kind of the way he just goes into the fine detail about everything, and he's talking and he just kind of rambles a little bit on this and that. And, we always joke at the site that, he can throw out 10,000 words about, the New York Jets draft, in an afternoon, but he can't finish Wins a Winner. And, what's going on, George? But we love George. If you listen to this, George, we love you. My personal favorite joke, I loved at the Dragon Pit meeting when everybody's kind of staring each other down, and John stares at Sideburn, aka Qyburn, and they're like trying to decide if they have a reason to hate each other, and then they're like, oh wait, we don't know each other. I thought that was a perfect little, it really captured, because it was also, I mean, it's funny on just a pure comic level, but also on a, like, when you remember that scene, everybody that was kind of meeting and having reunions and catching up, and and that we're on both sides of the conflict. When you think about it in terms of that, I thought it was a really good joke, because everybody was kind of seemingly, reminiscing about when they last saw each other and things like that. So I definitely loved that kind of joke. So, so was there anything that maybe didn't make it into the book that you guys, any kind of jokes that wished would have made it in?
Well, yes, actually, I was considering saying this for the favorite joke one, because this might have been like the first joke I thought of for the book when I learned that we were like, when the pitch was accepted or whatever, was that I really wanted to do a parody of Patchface from the books, because I don't know, it's just like such a fascinating character in the books. He just does like the little rhymes that like seem to like foreshadow a bunch of stuff. And so what I wanted to do in the parody was make a character called Snatchface. And the big joke that I wanted him to do was that there would be like some sort of party going on. Everyone would be like, oh, Snatchface, entertain us, please. And then he just says like a page-long monologue that's like exactly what's going to happen at the end. He's like, listen, on page 100, this person's going to die and this person's going to do this. And it just goes on for like a while very seriously. And then at the end, it's like, Snatchface, your silly songs, I love them, yeah. Just like make fun of the Patchface like foreshadowing. But that was cut from the book, unfortunately. But I was a big fan of that one.
Mike,
I'm trying to think if there's...
We did change the name of the book.
What was it originally?
It was originally, when we pitched it, we had pitched Shame of Thrones.
Shame of Thrones.
And it was brilliant. It was super highbrow.
Way better than the trash we've given you today.
But I think there was a musical named Shame of Thrones.
Yeah,
something like that. Do you guys remember?
And it was strangely like late into the process of writing it, where like the legal team at Hachette was like, wait, there's this like weird, obscure, like foreign musical called Shame of Thrones. I think we're gonna have to change the title. And then it took us like a surprisingly long to come up with Game of Thrones, but that was a big wrench, because we were like, oh no, Shame of Thrones, like we like that title so much,
One of we should mention this. We had a team of 9 writers from the Lampoon who each wrote a chapter. Right. And they're very talented. And one of our writers came up with Game of Thrones. Gotcha. So we had help with the book. It wasn't just the 3 of us. We had a staff of undergrads who it was like our summer project, and it was fun working together.
Let's not call them a staff of undergrads. They were 10 people our friends, our age.
Bunch of interns.
All right, so now we got to get to the dirt. So who's the funniest writer on the book, and don't hold back. If it's yourself, name yourself, but otherwise, who's the funniest?
Juan.
The quiet one.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna say Juan. I think it's Juan. I have no reservations about this to you.
Wow, I have no clue. Do you have a clue, Mike?
I'll say Juan.
Is it someone in this very call, Mike? I guess I'll say myself too, sure.
Hey,
did you have like a favorite chapter? We might be able to say who wrote it.
Okay,
Corey.
There you go. Favorite chapter, and who wrote your favorite chapter?
I think my favorite chapter is the second one.
That one's very good.
No. I don't know. I like a lot of it. I don't know. This is a hard
one. That's tough. Chapter 2, written by a guy named Scott Roberts, is very, very good. Chapter 6, written by a guy named James Wolfe, is great.
That one's really good too, yeah.
Is it 13, written by Leah Kayam, very good.
Chapters 1 through 10 and 15.
Yeah, that's also going to be difficult to find out because they're not numbered.
Yeah. Did you have one, Corey?
I did like the kind of opening chapters. Like I said, I really didn't enjoy that Dragon Pit chapter. I don't know the number on that one.
That was me.
Oh, okay. I enjoyed that one. And then I kind of like they're not chapters, but at the end, where it's basically like one paragraph, is a chapter or whatever you want to call it.
Totally.
Like that quick progression was kind of fun to go through, to see how
that's my idea.
Yeah, no, that was a good one, because it definitely was, probably would have been more satisfying than, what most people thought. So,
yeah.
And speaking of without sitting here for the next couple hours, what did you guys think of the final couple seasons?
Well, we definitely parody how they are inconsistent with how long it takes to travel from place to place.
Right. Yeah.
Like in one of our chapters, we start out with just teasing how exciting and like incredibly adventurous all of the people's journeys were to get back to King's Landing, by just summarizing them with one anecdote about our character Hormond looking at a rock and thinking, wow, it's a rock. And so we I don't think any of us were too happy with how they sort of just abandoned ship on like showing the journeys of the characters just for the sake of tightening everything up.
Yeah.
I think what I disliked was, I didn't like how it like wrapped up kind of like happily. Because just based on the books, like I kind of like that about the books, where it's just kind of like, oh, if you're not like the cruelest, like the most like, go-gettery person, you're just gonna die. And the way that I thought, this kind of inspired the ending of Game of Thrones, where everyone's just killing each other trying to become king. I thought the way that it was gonna end was that like everyone would be dead except for like one person, and they would be the king of like nothing. I thought it would be that kind of like sad sort of ending. I thought it like wrapped up too nicely, and kind of took away like the tragedy of the books, I thought. So yeah, once it diverged from the books, I thought it kind of like whatever. We were going for too much of a happy ending, I think. And I didn't like that.
Yeah. And I think I think one of the most frustrating things for me, I know we talked about this, me and Mike and Juan, was just Daenerys's character changing almost on a dime, seemingly, like very rapidly, with not a lot of explanation besides saying that she's just has Targaryen blood in her and that she's mad. But to see her just kind of turn mad after being fairly reasonable for the previous 6 seasons, it was a little. It felt a little cheated, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Well, also to see the Three-Eyed Raven become the king was sort of boring to me. Just I didn't like his character in the show very much.
Yeah, I think that was we always joke that they say that Bran had the best story, but his story was so exciting they cut him for an entire season. In season 5. So it's kind of like, and they even said that in interviews. So I think overall, I think it just all boils down to maybe the rush nature. I think maybe people that had, all the issues can kind of be traced back to that. So, really I have, but my final question really kind of piggybacking off that is, does the way that it ended and after working on the book, are you guys still excited for like the future George R.R. Martin novels? Or obviously House of the Dragon has gotten a season order already from HBO, and they're underway making that. Are you guys still excited about the Westeros in that universe, or are you guys kind of pushing off?
I'm still really excited. Because there's like so much stuff in the books that wasn't even addressed in the show, like
right,
like John Connington and all of that. Like, I assume the books are going to end like very differently, so I'm looking forward to that. Maybe that's just like a lie that I'm telling myself, but I'm excited for all the stuff that wasn't in the show for sure.
Yeah, I think the books will get to the same point, just in a different way. They're taking a different route. Like there's so many ways to get to work every morning. I think, you'll get to the same spot, but it's going to be Martin's going to take us in a different way.
Probably. So. I tell myself every day it's going to be different. I just want to believe it's going to be something else, So I'm looking forward to that. It's not done till it's done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I sympathize with him though, because I bet there's a lot of weird pressure now that there's already a show version of the end of your story and need to write 2 more books. I sympathize for him.
Yeah.
No, I think
we should mention. Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
That we were in contact with George R.R. Martin actually briefly. Juan, do you want to tell this?
How did that?
Yeah. So one of the writers for the Lampoon right now, her name is Elise. She was taking like a fantasy literature course at her high school, where they read like a bunch of the Song of Ice and Fire books because her teacher, his favorite author was George R.R. Martin. And so what happened was that Elise and her friend Molly found out that he was coming to speak at like a college nearby. And so they scoured like some Song of Ice and Fire like forum and found his email, and then emailed him a bunch asking him to like come to their class. And then he was like, yeah, sure, I'll come. So then he came and like, they just like asked him questions about the books, and he told them about like, weird encounters with like fans and stuff, but like they weren't allowed to like ask him about ask him about like the ending or about the 7th book. And then what he told them, which is kind of interesting, was that he had already picked out like the authors that he wanted to finish the books for him if he were to die before they were finished. And then also, so then him having come to their school, she like emailed him and asked him if we could send him a copy, and he emailed back and he said, well, yeah, actually I was a big fan of Lord of the Rings when I was in college, and I think it's an honor that I'm going to get the same Lampoon treatment for my books. Yeah, sure, send it over. And they gave us his personal address, which is really cool. And then we sent it over, but he emailed us actually just last week and said that he like lost the book because he like received a ton of books, I guess. So we mailed him another one last week because he said that he had lost it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So he'll lay eyes on it someday.
As many copies as he wants.
Yeah, of course. I said 5 million to your house, of course.
And the first copy we sent did have an apology letter attached to it, also where we just like profusely apologized to him for how we portray him, like as not only like his work, but him like specifically as an individual, and just said like we're huge fans, but like please, we're so sorry about how we portray you. So I do wish that letter was in the second one as well, but
now there's a list of demands in the second one. There's more insults.
I think he takes most of it in stride. I think he understands kind of, people's issues and whatever. And I think as long as you're respectful with it, I don't think he has, an issue. And he is a big reader. I mean, he was just talking about another book that we're getting ready to review for the site too, that he just read. He just reads. So
yeah,
I'm sure when he does get y'all's copy, he'll blow through it pretty quick. So
hopefully, it'd be sick to be on the blog.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it'll be something where he takes it as what it is a loving, kind of joke and parody of it. So hopefully that is where he comes at it from. So, but that's basically, that's all that I've got, unless you guys have anything else that you wanted to add that we missed. Feel free to chime in now. Anybody you want to thank or give a shout out to?
Shout out to everyone who worked on the book.
Yeah, totally.
Shout out to Isabel Givney, who did our cover and the map. You can show the map here. There's a map like this in Lord of the Rings, and so we really want to do one. Isabel Givney is an incredible artist and did this really, really funny map with really funny parody names of the locations in Westeros.
Yeah. I love that Dorne was Texas, because that's always that I'm from Texas, and that's always where I'm like, everybody from Dorne's kind of different, just like Texas. We're all kind of different down here and more independent minded, and I definitely love that touch on the map for sure.
You're welcome.
Our other artist who worked on the book, her name is Nicole Araya. She did the incredible in-book drawings like this one here.
Right.
Really great.
Good job.
But Isabel Gibney also did the sigils, right?
Oh yeah. So we want to parody the sigils from the book.
Yeah.
Like, so here's the.
That's actually another thing that was cut, is that how at the end of the other books there's like the little appendices with all the houses and stuff.
Right.
We wanted to include that.
No, we got it.
It would have been really
That's included.
No, I mean the actual books have like the houses.
Oh, I see.
History of the house.
Yeah.
I see.
We're gonna do like house songs and house mottos.
Yeah.
House, but it would have been way too long.
It was it was like another book. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the appendices of the book are they're like 100 extra pages.
So cool.
I mean, it's good to look through, but it is a ton of information.
Yeah, there's a lot of content. Yeah.
So. Well, I mean, unless you guys have anything else, I mean, definitely thank you guys for the time. The book is Lame of Thrones. It's available anywhere major books are sold. Get it on your Kindle, get a paper copy, however you want to read it. And again, thank you guys for the time. I hope you wish you all the success, and maybe we'll have you guys back on soon.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Corey.
And subscribe to the Lampoon.
Yeah,
At our website.
absolutely.